books. Now, come to the last chapter in the Gospel of John, chapter 21. This is, Jesus is going to have breakfast with his disciples. This is after his resurrection. And he's going to have breakfast, and this is where he talks to Peter about Peter denying Jesus 3 times. And this is where Jesus restores Peter. So I'm not going to go through the whole story now because eventually we'll preach on it. But let's jump in at verse 17. The third time, so I'm in the last chapter, verse 17. The third time he said to him, this is Jesus, Simon, Peter, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. Very truly, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And then he said to him, and basically these are the last words in the second here, what's one of the last things Jesus says to Peter? Follow me. What's the first thing that Jesus said to Peter? Follow me. Hey, you fisherman, follow me. What's the last thing Jesus says to Peter? Follow me. I thought this was kind of unusual because, wait a second, Jesus, I get when he said to Peter the first time, follow me. So Peter now follows Jesus. Jesus goes, hey, we're going to travel over to this town. Peter follows him. I'm going to preach now. Peter follows him. We're going to pray for the sick over here. Peter follows him. But now, at the end of 3.5 years, Jesus is now going to go to heaven. And Jesus says to Peter, follow me. How do we follow Jesus when he's sitting at the right hand of the Father? How do we follow him? You know the answer. Through reading his word and through the guidance and leading of the Holy Spirit. We all follow Jesus. Now, Peter, so last words that Jesus says to Peter, follow me. Peter goes, hey, wait a second. What about John, the apostle? What's going to happen to him? So look at verse 20. So Jesus just got done telling him, here's the last thing I want to tell you, Peter, follow me. Verse 20, Peter turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John the apostle, was following them. This was the one who had leaned back against Jesus at the supper and had said, Lord, who is going to betray you? When Peter saw him, he asked, Lord, what about him? Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? Peter, I want you to hear me loud and clear. You must follow me. Okay, and now that's the end of the conversation. So it's like Peter going, okay, I know you want me to follow you, but what about that disciple? What about that Christian or these people in the church or whatever? And Jesus is like, can you hear me? You, I don't care what you think about other Christians. You must follow me.